Meeting. So before we start, I just want to introduce ourselves. My name is Wilson. I'm a junior at the high school this year. And
I'm Ivan. I'm a senior at the high school.
I'm Adarsh. I'm also a senior.
I'm Evanita. I'm a senior.
I'm Pranav. I'm a junior.
And there's also one other captain who is out today.
his name is Sabin Patel.
Okay, I'm
Alright, so a lot of you guys came here to get into this club. It's called Science Olympiad, if you don't already know. So what the Science Olympiad Club is a really competitive team that will go to various competitions around the tri-state area, whether it be like invitationals or regional competitions. So you'll be covering a bunch of different events, varying from like different topics from engineering to earth science and other things like that. And you'll also be working together on your teams as well. Yeah, so if you have any questions, make sure you just email that account over there. We'll be trying to get all your inquiries in. So let's introduce our coaches. We have Mr. Sullivan there.
Hey, everyone. Stand out.
Mr. Resh in the pink. And we have Miss West Houston.
So Avenita is going to be a lot of you are underclassmen and freshmen, so Avenita is going to be your main contact, and so her email will be on later in the slide, so when it appears, just make sure you write it down so that you can contact her if you have more specific questions.
All right, so meetings. So for Science Olympiad, we meet every Wednesday and Thursday after school. We're a little bit more lenient about whether or not you can make both, but just make sure you try to come to at least one throughout the week. And so the location of our meetings are going to be here in Mr. Resh's room or down the hall in Ms. West Houston's room. And so during these meetings, for the most part, what we do is that we usually split up into smaller groups, and then we start working on our events so that we can prepare for any upcoming competitions. And so for build events specifically, a lot of the time that you're here, you're going to be working with the 3D printer, the laser cutter, etc. And so for our requirements, we need you guys, again, to at least attend once a week. And if you can't come to either meeting, then we're going to ask that you guys do maybe a practice test at home and send us some proof that you did it.
Okay, so there are a lot of different events that you can compete in depending on your interests. So like the three main types of events are study events, lab events, and build events. So study events are pretty much what they sound like, you study. So you can make like different cheat sheets and binders depending on what kind of event you're doing. And it's a wide array of topics, like from anatomy to rocks and minerals or like fossils. And like basically you work in a team, but a lot of the work that you initially do is pretty individual because it's just like studying and getting to know the material. Another type of event is a lab event. So during our meetings, we usually, with your event group, you'll be doing different labs. Like with forensics, you'll be working on testing powders and looking at how you can look at fingerprints and things like that. And then build events are, like Wilson said, you'll be working with the laser cutter and the printer and stuff. So depending on what kind of event you want to do, you should sign up for those events.
And also keep in mind that some of the events can be a combination of two or more of the three types we have listed here. Okay, so these are this year's events. I think we should write down what events we'll be handling. So again, I'm Adarsh. I'm going to be doing Chem Lab, Water Quality, Dynamic Planet, and Mission Possible.
So I'm Pranav. I'm going to be doing thermodynamics, herpetology, write it, do it, and astronomy.
So I'm Evanita, and I'll be doing experimental, forensics, fossils, and geomapping.
All right, so I'm Wilson, and I'm going to be handling most of the build events around here. So if you're like a new freshman here, and you guys are a little bit interested about what we can do in build events, then I'll be your primary contact throughout the year. So with that, I'm going to be handling boom lever, Mousetrap and Right Stuff.
I'll be doing some of the other events from Codebusters. Fermi, which some of you guys might not have heard of, but it's basically like an approximation for like making numerical estimations. I'll be doing Sounds of Music and Disease.
And the events that aren't filled are going to be, the main contact will be Savin. So make a mental note of here of which captains are for which event so that you become more familiar with who you're going to be working with.
And in addition, if you don't like, or if you don't get to take a picture, you can also look at our spreadsheet online, which has like all the information of who's capturing what and the signups for those things on the summer sign-up sheet.
Yeah, so take a picture now, and just let us know when you're ready. We'll change the slide.
Are you guys good?
Okay, so these are the potential invitationals we'll be going to. ISLIP, which is a high school invitational, and it's a one-day trip, will be early December. And we're still deciding between the captains and coaches, depending on availability and what invitational we'll actually be able to go to. We'll either be attending MIT, Conestoga High School, or Yale University in January, with the date to be decided because they occur on different days. But just for reference, if we do attend either MIT or Yale, those are both overnight trips, while Conestoga will likely be a day trip. And then regionals is if you've done Science Olympiad before, you know regionals is the state-run tournament that we have to place top 6 in order to qualify for states, and that'll be in early January. Princeton is a one-day trip since it's right there. It'll be in early February, and then again, we're still deciding between which university invitationals we'll be attending, but they will both be in mid-February. Cornell will be an overnight trip, while UPenn would be a day trip. And then finally, the main one that we're going to be preparing a lot for is states, which is in early March.
Yes.
So while this all seems like far away, it comes up a lot faster than you'd expect. So just make sure you're staying on top of things.
And yeah, the invitationals are a really big part of Science Olympiad, and they're really integral to you having a really good experience. So we'll be sending a form later for you to kind of check out your availability for each of these dates. Yeah.
Does invitationals count for anything? Like, do you have to pass it to get to regionals? Or if you didn't do that in
So the most important ones here that will actually count towards our
Our progression.
right. Yeah. So our first step is to place top 8 in regionals, which we usually do, and states, which depending on how we perform there, if we get first, will kind of either end our season or allow us to continue on to the national competition.
The invitationals are more of a way for us to get competition experience and compete with some of the local schools from around the area, or even stronger schools from different states.
And also invitationals, we leave around like Friday night. Like Friday 3rd period, so you won't be missing that much school. So you don't have to worry about that.
So this year we're going to be doing 2 stages for tryouts. First one's going to be in November, and the second one's going to be in January. And so usually how the tryouts go are the study events will compose of like a 40-minute to 1-hour test, and the lab events will include like another section. And depending on the build you're doing, you might have to do like a long-term assignment or draw a sketch, things like that.
So it's important to get a lot of practice in before these dates, and we'll definitely provide you with all the practice. But just like after tryout 1, don't be discouraged if you don't make the team. We really want to encourage everybody to keep trying out, even if you don't make the team per se, because there's a lot of things that can happen over the long season, and we want to keep a lot of you within the club.
Yeah. And yeah, just again, to create different builds, you might not be each creating an individual build and testing it at tryouts, and your participation to like the team collaborative effort on builds, whether it be Boom Lever, Mission Possible, or any of the other builds this year, that plays a very important factor into how we make decisions for teams.
So we're gonna email you guys today about like the first meeting and recap everything that we went over, especially for people who are unable to attend today. So let your friends know. So a reminder to fill out all the forms that we send out, including invitational availability, permission slip for all the invitationals throughout the year, and a health form for the whole year. Also, event-specific emails from each captain will go out. So, like the picture that you took before, expect emails from us. And so our first meeting will be next Wednesday at 2:15, and every week we meet on Wednesdays and Thursdays. You don't have to make both, but please try to make at least one. And then, yeah, so we will email with this year's rules, because rules change every year. So if you did like Science Olympiad in middle school, this year's rules will be different probably. So look forward to that.
Yeah. And so for the invitational availability, it takes a long time to make teams, and because there could be scheduling conflicts and different events a lot of the times clash for different people. And so if you can't make an invitational, try to let us know sooner rather than later so we can fill out the teams and make them accordingly. And it doesn't reflect poorly if you tell us much in advance. We'll try to fit you into another invitational. But letting us know like really close to the date of an invitational really messes up our ability to make the teams the way we want to make them. So just let us know early.
So if you are a new member or you haven't signed up before, make sure that you stay after the meeting ends so that you can add your name to our email list. And also contact me. My email is abanitha2000@gmail.com. So if you have any questions, especially if you're a freshman or new to the team about like how to get started or how to study and things like that, you can always email me.
You guys all have the email. Yes.
Is this accessible to them, and will they be on Sharefold? I don't know where we're at.
Yeah, we're going to send it out.
I saw some folks trying to get the information down, and I think we can make that accessible to you via folder. A couple things that we've kind of figured out over the last couple of years. Your captains are really good at keeping the coaches informed as what we're going to do, so we use them exclusively as you go through that. Not that you can't talk to us, but if you have needs or you have something that's going on, that's definitely a good point of contact that we will go through. The other thing is that we will be primarily in this room, and a lot of times we'll use the makerspace right next door here. We're going to put a real point of emphasis on keeping ourselves a little bit tidier this year. So Science Olympiad is known for creativity, but not necessarily for neatness and order. So we're going to work on that a little bit this year. And so if your coach or your captains are harping on you, or you hear one of us talking about it, it's really important to kind of keep ourselves a little bit more organized this year. We spent way too much of our time looking for things and not actually doing stuff. So we will get on that. I will be putting out a couple different things for you once we get invitational schedule set. We do one permission slip for all of our invitationals. So we'll do it on a Google form that we'll share so that your parents can sign up on that, click on all the form stuff, and identify all of the invitationals they're giving you permission to go to. Okay? They can click all of them, and if you don't end up going to all of the invitationals, that's fine. It's no big deal. But if I don't have permission for one of the invitationals, then it becomes a little bit more of a problem. Princeton University is one of our definites that's up there. That is an invitational that you carpool to or find a way down to Princeton. We don't get a bus for that particular one, so you get there and back. The others, we do school transportation. Overnights do cost money, so we will get you all of those costs, but I think generally we kept it right around 125-ish or so. I don't remember what the number was last year to go on the trip. Covers our bus and lodging and some other ancillary things. We will be having a few fundraisers throughout the year you'll hear about, so please stay and participate in those. Particularly one of them is our Kids Night Out events that we will be organizing, not just for Science Olympiad, but for other clubs as well. They're fun nights, but they require a lot of us, and so more hands on deck is really helpful in doing that. Other things?
Don't be intimidated. Find the thing that you like and you're passionate about and you find exciting and or want to learn more about. And don't think that there's not a place for you, because there's definitely a place for you here. It may not be that you compete at all of the invitationals, but you'll probably get to compete at least one of the invitationals. And it's also very social. This is a pretty social group. And I'm excited to get to know you guys.
Yay!
How many freshmen? Raise your hand if you're a freshman. All right, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. So freshmen, I think I'm just going to tack on to everything that was said. Don't be intimidated by these keepers up at the front. They have a lot of experience and can help you out. Make sure you ask them questions. And you know, don't be shy about talking with them. They have a lot of experience in going to competitions and invitationals and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you can always ask us too. But for all you returning folks, welcome back. It's good to see you all, and I look forward to this year. Look forward to meeting all the new faces and to seeing old ones and beating West Windsor.
Those of you who did not participate in Science Olympiad before, if you're a middle school or if you're a high school or haven't been on a team before, that is not a problem at all. We just ask that. The only thing we ask with the middle school, I know they do ask a little bit of commitment for the ninth graders, and if you've committed to that, be true to that commitment. We want to work in concert with our middle school program, not against them, for sure. We'd love to talk them in if you have friends that are on those teams. We can't do it now because ISLIP is closed, or the Long Island. But if we end up going to Cornell, there are a few of these invitationals that have B teams tournaments, Cornell being one of them. So if we went to there, we'd love to encourage our middle schoolers to perhaps talk to their coaches into taking to an invitational. So I know at ISLIP, Community is competing at ISLIP, and that's their big competition. Montgomery Middle School needs to step it up and get into those two. So we'll encourage that. But our competition are at these things, and the way that the invitationals do work is that we often will bring more than one team. So if you're familiar, again, there's like 15 to 18 students that are competing at any invitational. If we can take two teams, that means 36, roughly, of you. So that's not everybody in the room today, but it's a good portion. And if we do this a number of times, you're going to get an opportunity to participate. And you want to get on top of it early. The regionals and states. The regionals last year, we did have two teams at regionals. That's not going to be the case this year. They are not having two teams at any of the regionals. So we will have one team there. And but the other invitationals, as long as we are on top of our captain game, they can usually get us in as two teams. But they have to be pretty fast and have good processing power at home. So, good to have. Other questions for us?
Yeah.
Where are we going for regionals?
So they still haven't announced the date for Camden, but I think we're looking at that as our main prospect for attending regionals. So it's the same location as last year.
Yeah. What are the main differences between middle school science Olympiad and high school science Olympiad? Is there any rules?
So I think in each of the events, there's a special section that lays out the difference between Division C and Division B. So if you are interested in your own events, you can always look at the rules, and I'm sure we'll attach those to some of the emails that we'll send. But yeah, I think the main difference is that in terms of study events, that it might be a little bit more integrated with like math and some other concepts like statistics and that stuff like that. In terms of builds,
yeah. So for builds, I know that some middle schoolers already came up trying to work with the 3D printer. So at Division C, invitationals and regionals and states, what you'll see is a lot more of kind of a professional take on these build events. Last year, we used the laser cutter to cut out the chassis of our mousetrap vehicles. Previous years, we've used the 3D printer to custom design a robot arm. And so basically, you're going to start working with a lot more complex tools that'll help you make a lot more precise models and hopefully better builds.
Yeah, and I think I was in middle school as well, so I would say the main difference is how much more student-run Division C is. Like a lot of it is very like captain, student, and like captain and members. But like I think in middle school it was very like teacher-run and teachers assigning like events basically. So yeah, you get a lot of more personal autonomy in Division C.
We do put a lot of faith in our captains, so they are in charge of a lot of stuff for this. I think the level of commitment is different in terms of middle school. You're kind of a captive audience, and in high school you have, more options of things that you can do after school, and probably some more freedoms because of that, because you're not middle school. So I think for us as a Science Olympiad team, we have to work to make sure that you stay kind of focused and involved. In the middle school, they can, for better, lack of a better term, they can kind of lock you in the room and you're there, right? I mean, you have to kind of participate when they do that. We will often have weekend meetings as well, and that will be run through, captains will shoot out an email. There are certain times where we can get into the building on the weekend, and again, sometimes it's just nice to come together and, study with your partner here rather than trying to do it on, some sort of like FaceTime or something like that.
So how often would those weekend meetings be? Because my other school did have it every Saturday, which is
my wife and family don't love every Saturday commitments for me, so we won't do it every Saturday. And historically, we've done some on Sundays as well to kind of mix that up. But it will kind of depend on the weekend and different commitments that we have. So.
And it won't really start until closer to regionals and states.
Yeah, it's usually like before our competition so that people can like practice with their partners.
And then also keep in mind that a lot of the work you're going to be doing is also going to be outside of school, and at the end of the day, this club is really just a collaborative effort. So a lot of how you prepare for the invitationals, for the trials or whatever, it's going to be you making the first initiative to go out there, meet with other people in your events, meeting with your partner, and just, I remember last year, what was it, me, Jimmy, Eric Zhang, stayed at Eric's house till like 3 a.m. in the morning, making final touches on our towers, and yeah, so it's really just going to depend a lot on how you take authority over what you learn.
Are there any other questions? Cool.
All right, so just to end off, I know that a lot of you guys are upcoming from Division B, and I know that one of your main concerns might be like, oh shoot, I'm coming into Division C now. Now I have to compete with the sophomores, the juniors, the seniors. But just keep in mind that at the end of the day, we're all just here to help. If you guys need access to resources, need advice for studying, need help with making cheat sheets, we're all here. You can feel free to message us on Messenger, Instagram, email, and we can hook you up with contacts with other people, other schools, and with that, we hope to see you guys at the next meeting.
Which is next Thursday, right? Because we don't have school on Wednesday.